Hello and welcome. I am Anna Orr here on behalf of Aromia 11. We are currently at Norway House, where we've just heard an amazing presentation from so many community leaders as well as civic leadership. Susan Falatko, as well as our very own Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, and many others addressing the recent elimination of a college degree to apply for the State Department. This is going to fill a position upwards of 75%, where they have taken a deficit, where they're trying to recruit many people across the East African population and people of color specifically to change the landscape of our State Department agencies. We've talked to so many people tonight. It's been a wonderful time of connection, networking, and hearing the vision for our city going forward. It's been nothing but inspiring. I hope that many of you find yourself checking the links below and applying for careers, as well as seeing the global opportunities that they have talked to us about this evening, because it is really such a broad and vast industry for people to work in. The age requirements are going as low as 20 years old all the way up until your 60th birthday. So if you are interested in not only deciding on a career or pivoting educational-wise, this is an opportunity for you.
Welcome to the Minnesota Institute of Horn of Africa Studies inclusive hiring event with the opportunities in the U.S. Department of State and the Minneapolis Police Department. My name is Mohammed Ismail. I'm the Executive Director of Minnesota Institute of Horn of Africa Studies. We are delighted to see so many talented individuals gathered here today, representing diverse background, experiences, and perspectives from our East African communities in our vibrant state of Minnesota. This event is a celebration of inclusivity, equity, and the value of a diverse workforce. The Minnesota Institute of Horn of Africa Studies is a nonprofit, independent, nonpartisan center serving the state of Minnesota and the surrounding areas. Many has values and brings about diversity with our community and connecting communities. Our programs and initiatives help serve the arriving immigrants as well as new Americans from the Horn of Africa. Minnehaus is also dedicated to fostering a deeper understanding of the Horn of Africa within Minnesota, as on the global stage through education, community engagement, building trust, and expanding international issues. We understand that diversity and inclusion are not, but they are crucial for our innovation, creativity, and fostering a thriving supportive work environment. We encourage everyone to participate actively, ask questions, and take advantage of the resources and connections available here. We have Susan Falatko from the U.S. Department of State. She's a diplomat in residence for Midwest. Susan will make a presentation on careers, internships, and fellowship opportunities in the U.S. Department of State. Thank you, Susan, for being with us today. And welcome to Minnesota. Our guests include an impressive array of community leaders and public policy analysts to discuss the importance of joining government agencies and helping our communities, including Dr. Asad Aliwait, prominent community leader and scholar. He is the founder and executive director of New American Development Center. Asad is an experienced researcher with a demonstrated history of working in the executive office industry. We also have Beirut Abafogi, a accomplished community engagement officer and policy expert. Currently, she holds the position of senior policy aide within the city of Minneapolis. Dr. Absalam Adam is the principal of East Africa Elementary Magnet School, nation's first East African Magnet School. Dr. Absalam has been with St. Paul Public Schools since 1997 in a variety of roles. He is a community leader and sees his role as public intellectual with a determination to build a strong, nurturing school community that ensures success of all students. We also have Imam Yusuf, a religious leader and community leader. He is the executive director of Islamic Association of North America, IANA. He also served as the secretary of the Shura Council. In addition, Minneapolis Police Department Chief O'Hara will present a few remarks on the topic of importance of community and police working together and inclusive hiring practices of the Minneapolis Police Department. Thank you all. Thank you for being here today. Let us make this day a fruitful and exciting experience for all of us. We are delighted to have the Minneapolis Police Department recruiting section, and I would like to welcome the Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara for opening remarks. Welcome.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Brian O'Hara, and as of Tuesday, I will have been the Minneapolis Police Chief for 1 year. So thank you. New to the city, I come from Newark, New Jersey, and I think over the last year we've begun making some good progress in reforming the department, addressing serious crime, and also rebuilding our ranks. Which is something that's very important. You know, the Minneapolis Police Department has lost 40% of its police officers over the last 3 years. So Sergeant Hagel, some of our community service officers are in the back to do some recruiting efforts because it's very important that as we rebuild with good people who want to be police officers in our communities for the right reasons. And that means, you know, making sure that we're reaching out and going to places like this where we can, you know, get folks from all the diverse communities into the police department. Regard to the East African community, I recently promoted one of our sergeants to the rank of commander, Abdirahman Ali. Commander Ali is the first Somali-American police officer to be promoted to the rank of commander. He's the highest ranking in Minnesota, and we believe he's the highest ranking Somali police officer in the United States. But more importantly, he's a good friend, he's exceptional, and he's very well qualified for his job. And that's why we're here today. We want to increase the diversity, increase the ranks of our police department. We have several members, you know, who over the last 20 years or so have been Somali, have been East African. We're actually, hopefully, will be very soon bringing on our first Somali female police officer into the MPD. So all of this is very important, you know, because people, especially in this community, in our city, where all of our residents, everyone has been through so much, people desperately need good policing at this time. And I'm honored and thankful to be here with the Imam and with others in the community because these relationships are essential for police to be able to do our jobs. In order for us to be effective at being police, we need to have relationships with our imams, with our community leaders in the community before something bad happens. And we know in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, we have had attacks in the past on our Muslim community, on Somali community members. We had it recently, earlier this year. We had a couple of arsons in some of our masjids in the city, and thankfully, we were able to act and bring that person to justice with help from our community. So that's why these relationships are especially important to maintain everyone's safety. So that's something that we will continue to try and do as we go forward. So again, just thank you so much for having me here today, and I'd be happy to, participate in the program. I just want you all to know, because I'm sure there's people here who have children at home, there's young people here. There are pathways into the police department in Minneapolis for our residents that exist that can be life-changing for some of our people. Just know that if you're a kid in Minneapolis, if you're going to high school or you just graduated high school, the Minneapolis Police Department can hire you, give you a job, give you a good salary as a civilian, and send you to college and pay for your college. And at the end of it, after we pay for everything, after you earn money while you're in college, you can then become a Minneapolis police officer. That's what the community service officers do in the back, the guys in the gray shirts. So just know that that is a career path that's open. People don't need to have resources. They don't need to have money to get into it. We will hire you. We will give you a job. We will pay for all of your college. And then you can have access to a career where you can really make a difference for our neighbors. So again, I hope you take that message back to your family members and to community, and look forward to participating today. Thank you.
I would like to remind you guys that this delightful event has been organized by MINHAS, which stands for Minnesota Institute of Horn of Africa Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce our next speaker today, Dr. Asad Ali, the New American Development Center founder and CEO.
Thank you, Sayal. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. My name is Asad Ali Wade. I think many of you maybe have seen me for the last 15, 17 years serving the Somali community in Minnesota. I am the founder and executive director of New American Development Center, which is a community development organization, have offices in Minneapolis, Eden Prairie, Bloomington. We provide services to our community, housing and economic development. We are the first organization who provide a interest-free murabaha loans for small business lending. We partner with the state of Minnesota and with the federal Department of Revenue, Treasury, providing a small business lending through a non-interest or murabaha way. We also provide a housing and housing assistance program. During the COVID, we help over 5,900 families, majority of them Somalis in the state of Minnesota, to pay their rent, utilities, and mortgage, as well as other expenses. We are a number of the organization. I'm also very glad tonight to be here and part of this and sponsor this event. So Minnesota Institute of Horn of Africa Studies, they brought us a very unique opportunity tonight to us. They brought the State Department, the U.S. Department of State, to be in this room, and actually to provide an opportunity to our young kids and also to our community to be part of the workforce in the State Department. If you've been in Minnesota back in 1995, 96, you can tell how our community been in the offices in the city or the state. You couldn't find you could find an interpreter maybe, but you could not find a paid staff or someone who's in the decision-making position in the city or in the state or in the county. So right now you see how we change. We are in almost every single institution, government institutions in the state. That tells you that our community we bring our talents, we bring our education, background, civilization to Minnesota. So we are part of this society. Getting into the state departments or the U.S. Department of Defense or the federal agencies, being a diplomat or a civil servant or foreign affairs servant, that will really bring a lot of opportunity to not only to us but also to the United States, because We are, first of all, if you've been hired and get a job at the State Department, you will be representing the United States. You will be getting an oath under the Constitution of the United States, serving the country. At the same time, you will bring your culture, your language, your history into this workforce. So that will bring a gap that was missing. One of the reasons Susan Flatko from the State Department here tonight is to give us a presentation about how we can access to career pathways to the State Department. So having jobs, opportunities to the state, there's a lot of opportunities comes with, either in education, health, paid vacation. It's really good pathways. And at the same time, being a Somali, being an African, East African, a Muslim immigrant, and going to the State Department, serving this country, is a really honor. So I would like to appreciate Minnesota Institute of Horn of African Studies for this opportunity to bring to Minnesota. We are support to you. We support this is not the first time we'll sponsor this event. New American Development Center, NADC, as well as other organizations. We would like to be part of this process. And that's all what I would like to say tonight. And thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali Assad. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Abdisalam Adam, East Africa Magnet Elementary School Principal. Please, let's welcome him.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm really honored to be here with you this evening. This is an exciting event to connect and to build bridges of understanding and bridges of service. It's really important that people come together and discuss and keep the relationship between the United States and the Horn of Africa. We thank IHASA for arranging this event. The Horn of Africa is a very important strategic region of the world, and we know all the geopolitics that has always revolved around the Horn of Africa, being a passage to the Middle East, to Asia, and also being a strategic part of the African continent with the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean, and of course, superpowers always fighting over control of that region, which we have been victims for a long time, as you all know. So I think the way to move out of that victimization is for us to apply, to be involved in the decision-making, and to be part of the systems that are making these decisions for us. So if I may tell you a little bit about the East African Elementary School, which I served as the principal, is that people are asking, how did the idea come about? And how did it start? Why East Africa? Why not? You know, there are many other communities in St. Paul or in the Twin Cities. So I was an educator with the St. Paul Public School District for 27 years, started as an ESL teacher. And I was just telling Chief O'Hara that two of his officers were my students, Commander Abdurrahman Ali and Abu Bakr Muridi. Muridi was my middle school student in St. Paul, Washington Technology. It's a small world, so when you see your students, in positions of power, maybe it's time for me to clear the way and find something else. So maybe I'll become a diplomat. So it's really satisfying, and really I'm grateful for the opportunity. So the idea of the school is St. Paul District serves a significant number of East African students. And we must mention, Somalia has been said like 10 times, but no one has mentioned our Oromo community who are here tonight. Faya, Naga, welcome. We're really happy you are here. And also our Amhara speaking community, our Tigrinya speaking community, Eritrean community, Djibouti. This is the Horn of African region, so we should, recognize that makes us stronger. So the East African community has a lot of leverage in Minnesota that we can build on. And so tonight is one of those opportunities to really strengthen our relationship, get in the diplomatic corps. And a diplomat is not an easy task. In Somalia, we call it safir, like an ambassador. An ambassador is somebody who's representing their country and their culture and their values. So the way we carry ourselves and we relate to people around us, whether at work or whether at neighborhoods or in official institutions, is very important. People take cue from what you do rather than what you say. So right now we're all, in a way, ambassadors of our region, because when if we're a college student, or if you're a teacher, or if you're a professor, or if you're an officer, people will always be judging you, whether Somaliness or Oromoness or, Amharicness or, whatever, which part of the area that you come from. It's just part of human nature. So we have to be really be good representatives of our values and stand for our values with pride and strength. We have a lot to offer to the Minnesota community, and we have a lot to offer to the United States. We are very historic region. We are deep. Some people even claim that maybe that's where humanity started, maybe somewhere in East Africa. I don't know. I don't have any proof. But we do, have that sense of historic, existence and something to really share and bring out. So let me go back to the idea of the school. So St. Paul District, we kept pressing that, we have significant number of students in the schools. And so in February, the superintendent called a committee to study the feasibility from curriculum perspective, from human resource perspective, from the perspective of the facility, the buildings. And so that committee was meeting for about 2 months. And after looking into it, there was a need, because there are other languages. There is French immersion, Spanish immersion, Chinese immersion, Hmong immersion. So why not Somali immersion, since there are a significant number of Somali students? So that's how the idea came. And the district, after looking at the feasibility, agreed to open this school. So it was announced in May, and our task was to establish a whole school in 2 months. So June, July, and August, 3 months to open a school. So we reached out to the community. We had good coverage from the Oromo television, from all our Somali TV of Minnesota. All the media had an important role and a lot of door knocking. So we opened in September with 200 students with diverse background from all East African countries, majority are Somali, of course. And I appeal tonight also to our speakers of other East African languages to apply and to join this journey. We want our students to be bridge builders. I have a vision of our students traveling to Mogadishu and Addis Ababa and Asmara and Djibouti and Nairobi and coming back with by culture, bilingual, and again, our languages are very important. We have a lot of strength. The United States needs bilingual people to serve in different roles. So I'm sure everyone here speaks a number of languages. East Africans are known for that we have that tendency to pick languages very quickly and very easily. So I think we have a great opportunity. And talk about diplomacy, and how significant it is. Think about today and what's going on in the world. See how important ambassadors will be, how important foreign ministers will be, how important people who have relationships in the conflict in Gaza now. If we had relationship with different entities, you could make a difference. You can bring people's voices out. And we pray for peace in the Holy Land. We pray that the injustice that's going on and there's a ceasefire that's established as soon as possible. So tonight we shall all really think that we could make a difference if we're in the right place. So please apply and become ambassadors, become representatives, and build a better world for our children and for our future. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Diplomacy is fixing relationships, promoting interests. Promoting interests. Every nation has an interest. Every community has an interest. So the interest that we have as a community is to be a productive community in our area, in other areas as well. America is not as it used to be. America today is very different. It's multicultural, multi-faith, multi-background. An American Constitution says, government for the people, by the people, and from the people. And we are parcel and part of that people. So we need to be active in that sense. Also, when we are, wherever we are, whether we are doing a diplomacy work today, like today we're talking about, or whatever else we're doing, we have to be principled. I do believe as a person of faith and iman, I believe my faith contributes and leads my decisions. I have to save lives because my faith orders me or commands me that. I have to help others because of my faith. My moral compass is directly related to and connected to my faith. So having that faith of justice and equality, and if I quote the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما. O believers of Allah, stand for justice. Stand for justice. So let me conclude with this. I know I took more than I should have, but what I'm saying here is we need to be active. Since we have been working with the Chief O'Hare, and we really appreciate since he came, he changed a lot in the policing of our city, Minneapolis. And that did not come from a vacuum. It came from relationships and working together. So we need to work together. And the young ones, the young faces I see here today, please and please apply, be part of this process.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our next speaker, Beirut Abafogi, Senior Police Aide, City of Minneapolis.
Thank you, everyone, for that remark. I am a senior policy aide. I'm not the police, just to make that clear. Yeah, I want to thank I want to thank the organization for hosting such an amazing event. I also want to thank Ambassador and our esteemed speakers for making those amazing remarks. Most of the things have been said, but I will try to be very brief. So my name is Beirut Abafogi. I'm currently a senior policy aide at the City of Minneapolis. Before that, I had the privilege to work at the Office of Senator Amy Klobuchar as a constitutional advocate. I also am in the process of launching a consultancy firm that focuses on community engagement to improve system-level education, health, and economic opportunities in the immigrant community. I come from East Africa. I was born and raised in East Africa, so I understand what diplomacy means, like you guys do. Unfortunately, our region, the Horn of Africa, is usually in turmoil, and as immigrants, the diaspora, we often find ourselves trying to reach out to the government to advocate for good cause. So we do have a lot of familiarity in that area. As Somalis, as Ethiopians, as Kenyans, Tanzanians, you name it. So yeah, this is huge. Like I said, I promise I'll keep it short. Today I will just try to emphasize on three key areas. What it means to be a public servant. Why do we want to be public servants? Public servant is not just a noble act, it's a purpose, it's a life purpose for me. My diverse background in East Africa, working at a refugee camp, or my teaching job in the Middle East, or my current role here in the City of Minneapolis has taught me I'm not only giving, but I'm also constantly growing by being in the public service. And also our traditions, the cultural values that we are raised with also kind of teach us that like serving others is a noble act, and we tend to take that to our professions as East Africans. The second point I would like to mention is bringing diverse perspectives. What does it mean? Inclusion of diverse perspective is very important. It means representation, which has a significant impact in everyone that you're trying to impact, right? So we've heard from Chief O'Hara about how they have been trying to build relationships and how this has changed. I work at the city, so I know I have witnessed the changes since he became the chief. This is all about building a relationship amongst ourselves. What we're doing today, coming together as East Africans, I know we all look alike, we all come from East Africa, but we're also different. We have different identities and cultures and also perspectives. But this is also relationship building for me, because I often see that like we, as East African Somalis, Oromos, there is a bridge that we need to build. So relationship is the key. Diversity and inclusion, it extends beyond, the individual, the team, and the community that we're trying to serve. The third point is meeting the moment. What do I mean by meeting the moment? It's bringing in the youth, the young generation. It's their voice is crucial. Currently, we're faced with crisis. We're faced with the opioid crisis, with economic and social disparities. There are so many multi-layered problems within the city, within the state, and in the world, right? So what we need is a fresh perspective of those young leaders that are willing to take the torch and do better. They could do better than us. I'm not that old, but I would like to think, but I would really encourage the generation that is after me to understand, especially as an East African, it's very important for us to be in the public sector. Be as a policymaker or in the diplomacy, or it could be as simple as somewhere that you're providing social services, because we're diverse, we need representation. Unless we're represented, we won't be able to benefit from the system. And also, this is how we help build the system. In conclusion, improving policy outcomes, strengthening the social fabric, and enhancing the reputation of the country on a global level is few of the things that that necessitates our participation in this process. So I don't think I do have time, but I'll keep it short, and I will hand it over to our amazing moderator, Sagal. Thank you so much.
Our distinguished speaker next is Susan Falatko, U.S. Department of State diplomat in residence, Midwest. Please let's welcome her.
Hi, everyone. While we're getting this set up, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Ismail, for inviting me to this. What a great turnout. Thank you so much. On a Saturday night, I appreciate this. This is wonderful. And I think it speaks a lot to this community on how willing you are to be involved. And I think that is so important. And that's why I'm here, and I'm so glad that you're all here. All right. So, again, I'm Susan Falatko. I think you've all figured that out by now. I'm going to start real quickly by giving you, first of all, my contact information. This is how you can contact me directly. My email address, dirmidwest@state.gov. I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to give you a lot of information tonight. All of this is going to be on our careers website. You can always look it up, careers.state.gov. And I'm also on LinkedIn, so look me up as Diplomat in Residence Midwest. Don't look up my name because I had a LinkedIn page before I became the Diplomat in Residence. So look up Diplomat in Residence. This is where I post all of our opportunities, our internships, our deadlines, those things. So if you follow me there, you will find out about all these things. Additionally, if you would like to receive a newsletter that I send out every month, also with opportunities, I do different webinars online. My colleagues do different webinars about our different opportunities. So if you take a picture of the QR code, you can register, and then you'll find out all of these different activities that we do, and when we travel, and all of these different things. I'll give it just a second. And if you miss it, I can put it up again later. I still see a few phones, so I'm going to give it a second. All right, so basically, I am a Foreign Service officer myself, a diplomat. I've been in for almost 25 years, and because of the nature of our jobs, we are moving around all of the time. So I have served in 7 countries. You can see where they are. I have not been in Somalia, Ethiopia, but the closest I was Rwanda. And I've also served in West Africa as well. I'm an economic officer. I'll explain what that is and what that looks like. And my current position, this is actually an assignment like all of the rest of mine. I will be based in Chicago for the next 2 years as a diplomat in residence, which means that I am recruiting from all kinds of communities like yours. I'm originally from the Chicago area, which is why I'm really excited to be back. I haven't lived in Chicago since I was 17 years old. It's been a long time. But it's great because I love being able to present these opportunities to people from the Midwest because I knew nothing about them when I was growing up. I didn't come across the State Department until much later. So I'm really happy to be able to present this to you all. Now, who are we? If anyone has seen, there's a new show on Netflix called The Diplomat. I'd like to thank the producers for raising our profile a little bit, but who we are really, there's so much that we do. We are the nation's oldest cabinet agency, the first cabinet agency. We lead our diplomatic engagement. We are not that big. So if you look at this, of the Foreign Service employees, we have 13,500 that serve overseas. I'll explain the difference between generalists and specialists in a moment. We also have people that serve domestically in our policy offices in Washington. So we have civil service. So about fewer civil service than foreign service, but these are policy experts. And then, as many of you may know, when we are overseas, we rely on our local staff. We could not run our embassies without the expertise that they bring about a country. But why do we do this? Why do we go overseas at all? It is to promote the security, prosperity, and safety of American citizens. We're located around the world in almost 276 posts, and of course our headquarters is in Washington, D.C. We do have some other offices around the country, including here in Minneapolis. We have a passport office. That is an option that is always available. It is not a policy office. It is, issuing, adjudicating passports, but that is a State Department position. But what do? We do a little bit of everything. We work on issues. These are some of the offices and some of the bureaus and the issues that we work on. And as you can see, it's everything from human rights to energy to women's issues to oceans affairs, environment. We look for people with expertise in these fields. So a lot of people think, I have to have studied political science. That is not true. We are looking for people from all backgrounds, from all majors, and from all different kinds of work expertise. So I'm going to talk about the different paths into the State Department. These are the 5 paths, and I'll go into each of them one by one. Foreign Service Generalist, this is what I am. This is what people typically think of as the diplomats. We have 5 different career tracks right here. We will hire any major or any background for any of these career tracks. You do not have to have studied political science to be a political officer or economics to be an economics officer. We will train you in what you need to know. What we are looking for are people who are intellectually curious in a lot of things. The one thing about foreign service is that most of your career will be spent overseas. So 2 to 3 years at one embassy, then you move to another, then to another. So the difference between all of these career tracks, political and economic officers are actually very similar. just the kinds of issues they work on are political or economic. In a country, they build relationships, they know who's who, they talk to people, they talk to Washington about what they're seeing. They're advising on policy issues. We are not policy makers per se. We feed into the discussion in Washington where policy is made by speaking to people on the ground. So our political officers will do things like write the human rights report that every embassy has to write. We do trafficking in persons report. We do religious freedom reports. Those are our political officers. Economic officers are looking at the economic environment in a country. Are there additional barriers for foreign companies that want to work there? How do we make the playing field more even for all companies coming in from overseas? We also help foreign companies that want to invest in the United States and create jobs for Americans. So we're doing both of that. Public diplomacy officers, this is a great job. These are the folks who are the people-to-people builders. They work with the press, but they're also working on building mutual understanding. So they do things like cultural exchanges and educational exchanges. We have a sports diplomacy program, those kinds of things that are building and reinforcing those people-to-people ties. We hire consular officers. These are folks who their primary role is to help American citizens overseas that are living, working, traveling overseas when they have an emergency or they need a passport or there's a crime and they need assistance. We help American citizens. Of course, they also issue visas to foreigners who want to come to the States. That includes family reunification, refugee visas, those things. That is what consular officers do. And then finally, we hire management officers because with 276 posts, we need somebody to manage these. And a lot of people don't focus on that. They don't think that's not a diplomatic role. It is a diplomatic role. These folks run our embassies, everything from the human resources, the budget, the finance, the procurement and logistics. So if you have a background in that, that's great. Come work with us. We also hire specialists, and as the name suggests, they have specialized knowledge. We have an entire law enforcement division called Diplomatic Security Service. We hire folks to do regional security. They will be posted at all of our embassies and working with local law enforcement to kind of take the temperature of what security requirements do we need at our post. We hire administrative specialists, so we will hire folks to do human resources and budget. Now, the difference between the specialist and the generalist on the previous slide is that if we hire you to do financial management, you will always do that at every embassy. If you're a management officer, you're going to learn all of the different roles and ultimately oversee them, so it's a bigger role in that sense. We hire engineers because we build embassies. We do security upgrades on embassies. We hire facility managers, anyone with a background in buildings, HVAC, electrical. We need people to manage our embassies in that sense. IT. We really need IT people. We need systems administrators at all of our embassies. 276 posts. We have a hard time finding people because they don't realize these jobs exist. So if you have IT skills, computer science skills, we need you. We hire doctors. We hire nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, psychiatrists to serve as medical providers for our embassy personnel overseas. And then we hire librarians, we hire English language program officers to set up those kinds of programs in other countries with our embassies. So what are we looking for? There's really only two requirements. One, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and two, between the ages of 20, and we will hire you all the way up until your 60th birthday. So we welcome people who have other careers and want to do something different. You bring amazing expertise to what we do. So we are looking for all kinds of people who want to change careers. For the generalists, you actually do not need a college degree. That surprises a lot of people, but it is because we realize that there are people out there with life experience and work experience that would make very good diplomats. And so you can join us without a degree. For some of the specialists, they will require certain education. Obviously, the engineers will need engineering degrees. Our IT folks will need certificates, things like that. But it depends by the specialization. But this is what we're really looking for. So when you look to apply to the Foreign Service, one of the things we're going to ask you, we're going to ask you to write some personal narratives. Tell us some stories about these. Tell me how you demonstrate critical thinking or cultural adaptability. Everybody here has worked in different cultures. You would have great examples of how you demonstrate that. Things like teamwork, negotiating skills. These are all the things that we look for. And so when you apply, show us, tell us your stories. I won't get into the hiring process specifically. This is all on the website, but for all of our positions, generalist and specialist, they begin with a test. For the generalist test, it's called the Foreign Service Officer Test. It's online. You can register and take it online. But I use this slide just to demonstrate one thing. It is a very lengthy process. There is the written test. There is another set of assessments after that. There is a security clearance. There's a medical clearance. This process can take up to a year, possibly even more. So that is something you need to know if you're looking at the timeline. But that said, take the test. So the top one, the Foreign Service Officer Test for our generalists, it's offered 3 times a year. The next one is February, and then June and October. It's a very broad test because, like I said, we're looking for people who are curious about everything. We're not testing you for your political science knowledge or your management knowledge. All 5 of those career tracks take the same test. The test, it's multiple choice, but it is going to cover everything. There's going to be politics and history. There's going to be economics, science and technology, culture, literature. Because again, we're looking for people who just have a broad general knowledge about a lot of things. We'll train you in the specifics of the job. If you take the test once and you are not invited to the next step, take it again. You have to wait 12 months, but a lot of Foreign Service officers did not make it to the next step the first time. And that's okay. There is no harm. You can take the test as many times as you want. It is free. It is online. But you do have to wait 12 months. And I tell people, just take the test. Learn what it is that you might need to learn to pass it the next time, right? Maybe you know a lot of political science and history, but you're not as good on the science and technology. Take the test. Find out what you need to focus on for the next year. Come back and take the test again. For some of our specialist positions, they are open all the time. So our diplomatic security, our information technology folks, some of the other positions, you could go online today and register to take those tests. They take very specific tests, so our IT folks obviously take an IT test, but you can apply any day. Those jobs are always open. Some of our specializations, like our medical officers, our human resources officers, things like that, they open up several times a year. They're not open all the time. So you have to wait for the vacancy to open, and then you can register for those tests. Everything I've said so far is about the Foreign Service. They're for the positions where you are serving overseas. I mentioned we also hire civil service, which are people that serve domestically. We hire in all of these different career series in the circles. If you're looking for a policy job, if you have an expertise, for example, in the Horn of Africa, and if you'd like to work in a policy job, you want to look for a civil service opportunity. Now, if you join the Foreign Service and you want to serve in Somalia, Ethiopia, we can send you there. But then we're going to send you somewhere else because that's the nature of the Foreign Service. You move around all the time. If you just want to focus on one issue, you can join the Civil Service. The Foreign Affairs Officer, that is typically the policy job. The problem with these is that our office that deals with the Horn of Africa isn't going to be hiring a policy expert every day. They will be, you have to go on, so usajobs.gov is the federal government's repository for all job vacancies. You have to go online there, and you can search for the type of job you're looking for, and you can set an alert to be notified if a job with the things that you're looking for opens up. It's really tricky to get into the civil service. A lot of civil service jobs require prior federal service. So the question is always, how do I get my foot in the door? There are several programs that will do this. We have something called the Presidential Management Fellowship, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's one way to get the foot in the door. I'll explain it a little bit more. But in any case, these are the civil service positions. Go to usajobs.gov, and that's how you can look at those. Internships. Do we have some students here? Anybody? Yes? Okay, great. So we have internships. The first one, the student internship program, is a 10-week program. We have fall, spring, and summer cohorts. 10 weeks in Washington, D.C., or at an embassy overseas. We pay for travel and housing, and we pay you about $18 an hour right now. You do need a minimum 3.2 GPA, and then you just apply. Now, part of the problem is all of our interns need security clearances, so the applications open up very early. What this means is that summer 2024 has already been filled. The next opening will be for fall 2024, and that's going to open probably end of January, beginning of February. So if you know anyone who wants to do one of these internships, they have to, watch the timelines. If people sign up for my newsletter or join me on LinkedIn, I will make sure you know when these internships applications are open. The second one is a 2-summer internship. So for this one, we're looking for current freshmen or sophomores. The application takes place in August when they are rising sophomores and rising juniors, because we give them one internship in Washington and one at an embassy overseas. So 2 summers, you have to commit to both. They are also, we pay for housing and travel, and we pay them about $18 an hour. So that's a really great one. This one is merit-based and need-based. So they'll have to show a FAFSA or some kind of statement of financial need. And then the last one, we have a virtual internship that is federal government-wide. It is unpaid because it's virtual. It's up to 10 hours a week. So that is the Virtual Student Federal Service. Those applications open in July. It's a lot. You can take a picture. You can always email me to ask me more about these. And it's on our website. We have also graduate school fellowships. We can pay for your graduate school. The top bullet, there are 2 separate fellowships. One is the Pickering and one is the Wrangell. We will pay you up to $42,000 or $43,000 a year per year for graduate school in an international relations related subject, including MBAs, because we need management officers. We will pay for that, and then we will bring you into the Foreign Service as a Foreign Service officer. So we pay for your school and we give you a job. If you are part of this program, because we're paying for school, you owe us a 5-year service commitment. Most people stay in after that, but you could move on if you wanted after that. The second one, IT. I said we have such a hard time getting IT folks. We will pay for either junior and senior year of undergrad, or we will pay for a master's degree in an IT-related field, and then we will give you a job in the Foreign Service as an information management specialist. This application is open right now through January 16th. So if you know anyone who is right now a sophomore who wants us to pay for junior and senior year, or anyone who's a senior who's looking to go to graduate school, apply for this now. The first bullet, the Pickering and Wrangell, those will be open in June for the next school year. And then we have a diplomatic security fellowship. If you would like to be a diplomatic security special agent, it's a federal law enforcement position. We will pay you to go to graduate school again, and we will give you a job when you complete grad school as a diplomatic security special agent. The Presidential Management Fellowship I mentioned earlier, that does not pay for graduate school, but it is a route into the civil service. You do need a graduate degree. So if you are pursuing a graduate degree, once you are done, you can apply for the Presidential Management Fellowship. Get a fellowship in the federal government, and then you've got that foot in the door. When you finish the fellowship, then you can convert to civil service very easily. We have one more way into the State Department. This is actually a limited 5-year appointment as a consular officer for people who speak Arabic, Mandarin, Spanish, or Portuguese. And this is because, as many of you know, we have far too long wait times to interview for visas. People have to wait too long. So we are trying to bring in people on temporary appointments to be visa officers if you speak one of these languages. This job is open all the time. Again, you could go on careers.state.gov today and apply. There's also a test, and then we bring you in for 5 years. It's not a direct route to the Foreign Service generalist position, but a lot of people who do it decide they want to stay in, and then they take the Foreign Service test. And they're usually pretty successful because they've been doing the job for 5 years. So it's kind of another way in. All right, so why would you want to do this? 2 things for me. I grew up in Chicago. I always wanted to see the world. That was a big thing for me. And when I realized that the Foreign Service was a thing, I thought, I can serve my country and see the world. I was sold. This is a picture of my kids. One of the nice things is you bring your families with you. You know, we don't expect you to go overseas and leave your families. I joined when I was single. I met my husband on my first assignment back in Washington. I have raised 2 boys in the Foreign Service. The State Department pays for your housing overseas. The State Department will pay for your children's education overseas. These guys don't speak the local language everywhere we've served. We last served in Slovenia. They do not speak Slovenian. So they had to go to expensive international schools. The State Department will pay for that. There's a lot of benefits for the State Department. I can talk about them more if you want, but it's pretty good. So just a quick background on myself. As I told you, I grew up in Chicago. I went to the University of Iowa, and I didn't know anything about these jobs. I knew I wanted to travel. I ended up teaching English overseas in Japan, in Thailand, and in the Czech Republic. And along the way, at some point, you run into people from the embassy. I needed new pages in my passport. I actually worked in Thailand at a language center that was affiliated with the embassy. And it dawned on me, well, this is how I could serve my country. I loved teaching English. It was great. But I thought this is something I can do that can really make a big difference. So I did go back to school and get a master's because my undergraduate was in psychology, and I knew there was a test, and I didn't know if I could pass the test. So I did get a master's in international relations, but you do not need one. I will never know. I should have taken the test, and this is why I tell people, just take the test. You never know until you take the test if you're going to do well. Just take it. I probably could have saved myself a lot of money. So these are the places I've served. You saw the list before. One of the things I just mentioned here is that you will never do the same job twice if you're moving around. All of our embassies are different. Some are big, some are small. The issues that are important bilaterally are going to be different in every country. What I did in Sarajevo was very different from what I did in Cuba. In Sarajevo, as an economic officer, it was about 10 years after the fall of Yugoslavia. They were still rebuilding institutions. They had questions about, how do we protect our banking sector from flows of financing? They were looking to us for advice. Not every country does that. When I was in Cuba, they were not looking to us for advice. But I was trying to report on what is the economic situation here? How do Cubans survive when they go to the ration store with their card and there's nothing there? So it's different in every country. When I was in Switzerland, I was the United States representative to both the International Labor Organization and the World Health Organization. Because somehow as an economic officer, anything that is not explicitly political seems to fall under the economic officer's portfolio, but that's great. It's all of the science and technology, it's all of the environment issues, energy issues, and I really enjoyed that. These are just some pictures of some of the things we do as Foreign Service officers, everything from public speaking to opening different events. This was the opening of in the middle and the top. This was the opening of an exhibit at the Slovenian Military Museum in honor of Americans that had lost their lives in Slovenia in World War II. I had no idea this happened, but many people, their planes were shot down. And so this was an exhibit dedicated to Americans who lost their lives. You're always meeting people. So in Slovenia, just for some background as well, I was the deputy chief of mission, which is essentially the deputy ambassador. And when our administration changed, our ambassador departed. So I was the acting ambassador, the chargé d'affaires, for over a year. So a lot of these come from that. But they're all illustrative of the kinds of things we do. We're meeting people. We are building those relationships. So when Washington has a question, I know who to turn to ask. I don't just pick up the phone and cold call somebody and say, hi, I'm with the U.S. Embassy. I've built relationships, so I can go and have those conversations with people. Secretary of State's airplane. Embassies support all of these VIP visits. President, vice president, cabinet members, members of Congress. If Senator Klobuchar ever came to Slovenia, which the Slovenians were desperate to have her in Slovenia, I said, she's a very busy woman. I don't think she's going to make it. But had she come, we would have supported her visit. Everything from setting up the agenda, writing the talking points, attending the meetings as note takers, writing back to Washington what happened in the meeting. We do a lot of that. And then talking to the press, that was something that always terrified me. I'm glad I learned how to do it, because when the administration changed and I was suddenly in this role as chargé, they wanted to know, Slovenians wanted to know, what does this mean? Are your policies going to change? Is our bilateral relationship going to change? And so I was doing a lot of press reporting. So if you are interested, how do you prepare? How do you prepare for this test? So there are some people that say you can study for the test. I don't know that that's true. Really what we're looking for is people with a broad body of knowledge that you have built up through your education, through your work life. We're looking for those curious people. So be reading everything. Read broadly. If you're studying political science, read something beyond political science. Be understanding what's going on, trends in science, technology, trends in culture. Be aware of it all. It could be on the test. Know your geography. This is easier for some people than others. We don't do well in geography because we don't get taught geography very well in class when we're growing up. Hopefully, you all have better geography, I would think. We don't always. Practice your oral and written communication skills. It is so important, the written communication skills. It's not academic writing. It's not novel writing or literary writing. We are passing messages back to Washington. They have to be concise. You need to practice how to get a message back that can be read and understood and acted on very quickly. Leadership skills. This is just good life advice. So everyone, if you're a student, be finding ways to build your leadership skills. This can be any way from, volunteer work with your community, a part-time job, a club. Be finding ways to build those skills, because we're going to be looking for those if you apply for our positions. And then expand your comfort zone. One thing that's sure about the Foreign Service is you're going to find yourself in a situation that may be completely different from anything you've been in before. That's the nature of our moving around, doing different things. Know how you react in different situations. Be prepared for the unexpected, because the unexpected often happens in the Foreign Service. I will end with a quote from our current Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. I will let you read this yourselves. This is one of the most important priorities for Secretary of State Blinken. We represent the United States overseas. We cannot do that effectively if we ourselves, as a Foreign Service, are not representative of who we are as Americans. And that is why we need to be representative of all Americans. And that is why we are looking for you. There is a place in the Foreign Service for you. I hope you're interested. I hope you will stay in touch with me. And please let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to open it up for questions now, but you can also email me later, or we can just stay in touch. So I will end there, and I will open it up if anyone has questions.
Thank you, Susan, for that great presentation. Let's give it a round of applause. If you have questions, you can email Minhas or Susan. And then I will call on Ziad Abdi or Ahmed Ziad to give us our closing remarks. Please, let's welcome him.
Good evening. My name is Ziad Abdi. My nickname is Ahmed Ziad. I'm Operational Director of Minhas, Minnesota Institute of Africa. So welcome everybody. It's a salat time for praying. I appreciate your time. But we are closing. If you have a question or anything, then you have all the information, or you can visit our website minhas.org, and then we will forward you that. Let's quick. We have a lot of program. Minhas, we have a lot of program. We do a research program. We wanted to part for the community. Also, we have a program connection community. We have program building a strong community. We have program discussion dialogue, research, community issues like this one. Also, we have employment program for hiring like this, like diplomat. We have also a youth program. And also we have a diversity, equity, and cultural exchange and business consultant. So please welcome and thank you very much. I appreciate for that. And then there is a lot of programs coming in the future for the coming soon, next month. Also, we would like to connect to the community. We would like to bring together. We can work together, we can solve it together. So I will appreciate Susan, I will appreciate everybody who can attend in this meeting. Also, I would like to appreciate the police department. So we have a lot of opportunities. So Minhas we are more making consideration for the young community. So, and then we will connect in this position, and personally, I love it for diplomats. So, and then thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I am here currently with Police Chief Brian O'Hara. Thank you for joining us today on this episode of Aromia 11.
Thank you, Anna. Good to be here.
Now, we talked about so much about expanding the State Department and what that looks like, even on a global level. Can you talk about what this would mean for citizens of color, specifically the East African population, that we always don't see represented throughout our civic leadership?
Yeah, well, it was great to be here today because, as many people know, over the last 3 years, 40% of the police officers in Minneapolis have left the police department. So we're trying to rebuild by bringing in good police officers and bringing in more police officers that are more representative of all of our communities in the city, which obviously includes Somali and East African communities here. So it was great to be here to explain to a lot of young people that were here. There's opportunities that we have for people who have finished high school where we can hire you, we can give you a job, and we can pay you to go to school. We'll pay for your college, we'll pay you while you're in college, and then once you finish college, you can become a police officer in Minneapolis with the police department. And I think that's something that could be potentially life-changing for a lot of our residents. And so we're trying to get the word out as best we can, especially in the East African communities, so that we can have greater representation here. We recently promoted our first Somali American to the rank of commander. We believe he's the highest ranking Somali American in policing in America. So we're celebrating that. And in Minneapolis, very soon we're going to be bringing on our first Somali female police officer. Which for young females that are watching should know, I changed the uniform policy in Minneapolis earlier this year to allow for the hijab for Muslim women in uniform. So they should know that that is policy here, so that should not be something that keeps people out. We want to look to bring in as many of our residents as we can.
How has it been trying to address the language barrier? I remember attending dispatch and another opportunity recruitment event with the Minneapolis Police Department in the city of Minneapolis at the Brian Coyle Center, trying to address the language barrier. How has the city, as well as the Minneapolis Police Department, moved forward in trying to close the gap on that issue?
Yeah, well, we do have, all police officers have access on city cell phones to a translator just by calling. So we have access to well over 100 different translators at a moment's notice. But that's not good enough. I was kind of surprised when I came here that at times it's even difficult to find an officer who is fluent in Spanish or an officer who is fluent in Somali, particularly since there's literally tens of thousands of residents here who that is their language. So I think the long-term goal of that is to be like today, to bring our recruiting team to show our younger officers, our people who are studying to be officers, show how diverse they are, that can connect with young people in the city and go to where our community members are so that we can try and build relationships and encourage them to come join us.
Now, we are about to have a day of election coming up very soon. Can you just give a word of encouragement to residents that may be viewing this, that may feel like their vote doesn't matter?
Yeah, well, obviously, in this country, we depend on democracy and everyone's voice matters. I'm thankful that we have not had any issues from a law enforcement perspective, anything concerning that, which can happen at times with elections. We just want people to know that they can be safe, that they are free to express their right to vote, and that it's incredibly important that they do so because elections have consequences. So regardless of what people's beliefs are, regardless of what their political opinions are, it's essential for us to move forward together, that everyone is able to have their voice heard.
Thank you so much for your work and for coming out to the event tonight and speaking with us today at Aromia 11, Chief O'Hara. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I am currently here with Susan Falatko. Can you please talk to us about your role here and a little bit about what you spoke about tonight at this event?
Yes, thank you. So I'm Susan Falatko. I am the diplomat in residence for the Midwest, which is essentially a recruiter for the U.S. Department of State. I cover Minnesota, Illinois, and Wisconsin, and we are looking for people to serve as diplomats, to serve as all of our community. An embassy is really a community with a whole ecosystem. We are hiring. We are looking for people to serve as political officers, economic officers, IT support. We look for doctors, nurse practitioners, really a little bit of everything. We have something for everyone. And one of the most important things right now is we are looking to make sure that our foreign service is representative of who we are as a country. And that means that we're recruiting for diversity from across the country. And that is why I'm here tonight, to make sure that everyone knows that we have these opportunities and are taking advantage of them, because we need everybody.
Now, we heard you speak about some of the requirements to become a part of this amazing agency. And as I was listening, I began to think of so many different people that I knew that possessed these skills just in being naturally who they are. And then you spoke a little bit about a test that is potentially on the horizon for some people that may not do like you and receive a master's degree. Can you talk about what the elimination of having the standard that we need to have a college degree to do what we naturally do innately? Can you kind of speak a little bit about that?
Yes. So for some of our foreign service positions, which we call the foreign service generalist positions, a college degree is not required. We have on our website, which is careers.state.gov, we are looking for certain skills and qualities, and they're listed there. But it's things like cultural adaptability, critical thinking, leadership, teamwork, negotiation. These are things that can be developed in many different places. And so the degree is not required for those. There is a test, so we're looking for two things. We're looking for these skills. We want you to tell us about these skills. And there's also a test. The test is very broad. We are looking for people who are intellectually curious, meaning we'll hire any major if you have a degree. We'll hire people from all backgrounds, second career, third career, because we're looking for people who just are interested in a little bit of everything. And the test reflects that. It's multiple choice, but it's going to cover everything from politics and history to economics, science and technology, culture. Because when we hire people for the Foreign Service, they're going to serve in a country for 2 to 3 years. They're going to learn a lot about that country, and then we're going to send them somewhere else, and they're going to have to learn new issues. So we want people who like to do that.
What do you believe this is really going to mean for people of color having this opportunity to get their feet wet, so to speak, but also really impact global change?
Well, this is it. When we are overseas, we have to be not just representing who we are as Americans, but we need all those voices, because We know a diversity of voices makes a difference. We know that representation makes a difference. And it's going to feed into our foreign policy decisions in a good way. Because we are not a monolithic country, we need to be hearing all those voices. And those voices need to participating in our policy decisions.
Now, for those that may be watching this right now and not heard your amazing presentation given earlier, but have questions about how they can participate or if they need to pass along to other people in their network, who do they talk to?
Well, I will say go to careers.state.gov. We have a ton of information on there. We have a part on the website that is called Connect with a Diplomat. If you are from, and it comes up with a map, if you are from Minnesota or Illinois or Wisconsin, that'll be me. But the map will direct you to whomever is the diplomat in residence, the recruiter for your state. And so you can find who that is. They travel around like I do. They can come visit, speak to your groups, speak to your communities. Just reach out to us.
Thank you so much for your time, Susan.
Thanks so much.
I am currently here with...
Beirut Abafogi.
And you are here representing the city of Minneapolis as a senior policy writer, correct?
Correct, yes. I am also here representing the East African community.
Which is beautiful. Now, I know that we just listened to the wonderful presentation given by Minhas, and they were talking to us about the opportunity for people to join the State Department. Can you talk about what this means now, taking away the barrier of having a college degree for people to now access what currently is taking place?
Yeah, sure. So as you are well aware, we have a lot of East African community members in the state. This is one of the efforts to have them included in government. So the State Department is trying to be inclusive. I mean, they're being inclusive in hiring. So they're trying to tell us, we have no much barriers. You can come and work for us. You're American citizens, and this is what we want from you. So what this means for the East African community is bringing that diverse background and diverse experience that they have and use it here. And also, like, when you have someone who looks like you and who share your background in government, that sense of belongingness increases, and then it's enriching for the country as a whole and also beneficial for the community.
What do you have to say to people that feel that us as an African community joining the State Department may be seen as just a stepping stone in the right direction, but they don't know actually what the success rate would look like? What do you say as an encouragement to them?
I would say if you want to bring change to your family, your community, or to the place where you have your connection, your roots in the Horn of Africa, it is imperative that you participate here, you get involved here. You doing the job over here means building your own community and also your country that you are attached to. Because I'm saying this because I know as an East African, we're very much attached with our home country, and often what happens over there, it affects us here hugely. You witnessed before, there was a lot of healing happening post conflicts in the Horn of Africa. So we can't just be sidelined anymore. We have to step into the center, and we have to also be part of the solution and represent that voice and help build a better world.
I agree with you so much. Now, we are currently in the middle of an election cycle. Can you please just share a word with the community about getting civically engaged so that we can begin to build a future that we really want to see?
Of course, this is actually one of the things that I am passionate about with the current, with the current climate that is what we're witnessing in the world. I know most of us are in despair, and also we are losing that motivation of, doing this, participating in this civic engagement. But also I would like to remind folks that, like, you have to exercise your civic rights. You live here, you're part of this. You might as well be part of the solution. If you recognize the problem, you can't just kind of step back and then say, oh, I don't want to be part of this. This doesn't align with my value, or I don't support this. That's not the answer. Your votes have power, your voice actually matters here, and you can only by voting, by participating, by doing the civic duties, you can voice your concern. So I would say there is a presidential election coming up in the near future. So I just would like to remind my community folks that like our voices matter, and it's time that we step up and do better actually.
Thank you so much for your time, Beirut, and for your continued efforts to grow the community.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Adeleela akkam nagaa?
Nagaa akkam jirtu fayyaa.
Guyyaa har'aa maaliif asitti wal geettanii dhaamsa dabree maalirraa hubatte?
Guyyaa har'aa namoota mootummaa yookaan State Departmentii hojii federaalaa akkamitti uummanni as jiru East African irratti qooda fudhachuu akka qabu, maal gochuu akka qabnu, akkamitti illee hojiin achi keessatti argama, carraan jirummoo maal fakkaata kan jedhu bakka buutuun State Departmentii dhufte asirratti nu ibsite jechuudha. Kana keessaa wanti irraa baranne tokkoffaa nullee akka nama yeroo dheeraa biyya kana jiraatetti carraan kun akka salphaatti akka jiru hin beeknellee. Kanarratti hundaa'e egaa namni keenya yeroo baay'ee waanuma seektarii adda addaa keessatti hojii laallanna malee mootummaa keessatti waan nurraa fagoo wayii seena waan nuti isaa fi muuxannoo gahaa qabaannee keessatti argamuu dandeenyu nutti hin fakkaatu. Garuu akkatti amma argaa jirru akkuma hojiuma kaan itti iyyannaa galchifannee dandeettii qabnuun dandeettii yoo akka nu yaanneeyyuu miti amma nuti yeroo baay'ee hojii mootummaa gaafa jennu federaala gaafa jennu nama barumsaan PhD yookaan maastersii faa qabaachuu qaba jennee yaanna akka amma ilaalaa jirru kanatti namumti high school iyyuu barate hojii kana argachuu danda'a jechuun kana jechuun hojiin keessattuu amma hojiin State Departmentiidha kun amma warri kaawunsilatii ambaasaddaroota hojii adda addaa biyya adda addaa keessa deddeemanii hojjechuun kuni akka jarri jedhanutti high school illee barattee wanta jechuu dandeessa. Achi keessatti illee deemtee hojiuma maallaquma jarri sii kennan illee barattee illee guddachuu akka dandeessu carraan isaa baay'ee bal'aa akka ta'e nu ibsanii jechuudha.
Isaan dabalataan immoo warra biyyoota garaagaraa deemaniin namoonni as jiraatan ka biyya gara biyyaa galanii hojjechuu barbaadanis carraa argamee jira. Isaan kanaaf dhaamsiti qabu.
Akkuma jennee akka jarri jedhanitti amma warra kaawunsilatii biyyoota adda addaa akka isiin ibsiteetti waggaa lamaan biyyoota adda addaa keessa deemanii hojjetu. Carraan biyya keenya keessatti illee deemanii hojjechuun hin jiraata. Embaasii Afrikaa keessatti, Eeshiyaa keessatti, biyya adda addaa keessatti deemanii hojjechuun carraa guddaa qaba. Kana keessatti ani kan inni ilaale tokko nuti akka Oromootti achi keessatti jiraachuun Oromoon tokko achi keessa deemee State Departmentii ta'ee embaasii ambaasaddaroota kaawunsilatii ta'ee hojjechuun carraa Oromummaarras eenyummaa ofii calanqisuu irrattis yeroo baay'ee immoo kontaaktii nuti abaluu achi keessaan qabnu isa jedhu sana keessaan hanqannee waan jirruufi obbolaan keenya hundinuu amma akka jedhanu waggaa 20 irraa kaasee hamma 60 ta'anutti hojii kana ammayyuu irratti qacaramuu danda'u jedhu. Kanaaf keessattuu namni hojii mootummaa keessatti hojjechuu biyya deddeemee carraa akkasii irratti qooda fudhachuu namni nama barbaaduuf carraa guddaadha. Irratti illee qooda fudhachuu qabna jedheetuman abdadha. Keessayyuu dargaggoonni barumsaaf illee waan kafalanuuf maastersii illee bachelor degree illee horii fuul illee kaffallee isaanii baafnee barsiifna waan jedhaniif carraa kanaan itti fayyadamanii gaariidha jedheeman yaada.
Mee kan biraa immoo kan isaan kaasanii Dipaartimentiin Poolisii Minneapolis keessattuu bara dabree parsantiin 40 poolisiidha hojii gadhiiseera. Kanaaf iddoon banaa jira. Carraa barattoota barsiisuudha. Iskoolaarshippii kennanii fi barsiisuudha jiraa jedhan. Isa kanaaf dargaggoonni keenya maalirraa barattoonni maalirraa akka fayyadaman dhaamta?
Tokkoffaa nuti akka nama waggaa dheeraatiif Minnesota keessa jirru sila achi keessatti of arguu qabna turre. Warroonni ollaa keenya baay'een isaanii achi keessatti hamma chiifi koomaandarii ga'anutti fudhataniirani. Nuummoo achi keessaa maaliif hanqanne kan jedhu baay'ee gaaffii guddaadha. Garuu immoo carraa amma jiru kana keessatti tokkoffaa nus of laaluu qabna. Ijoolleen keenya dargaggoonni qeerroon qarreen carraa kanatti fayyadamuu danda'u qaba. Nagaa naannoo ofiitiif nagaa uummata ofiitiif illee keessatti qooda fudhachuun waan guddaadha. Lammaffaa immoo akkuma jette kana isaanuu internshipii hojii qacaranii kolleejiidhaaf kafalchiisanii isa keessatti immoo akka achitti deebi'anii poolisummaaf ofiisa keessatti illee hojjechuuf carraan guddaa jira. Namni keenya gaafa waan poolisaa jedhu waan akka addaatti ilaala. Kun hojii mootummaa keessatti qabaachuu kanarratti immoo dabalee seeftii dargaggoota keenya uummata keenya eeguu jechuun waan guddaadha. Kanarratti Oromoon dargaggoon keenya baay'een kana keessatti of arguu qabna. Jabaadhaa nullee namaa gadi miti. Akkuma namaa oli baay'ina keenyatti dandeettiin keenyallee namaa oli malee namaa gadi miti. Kanarratti akka qooda fudhatanu maatiin illeetu jajjabeeffanii jechuun barbaada.
Hedduu ulfaadha.
Galatooma.
Obbo Tashitee akkam?
Akkam jirtan?
Nagaame guyyaa har'aasitti walgahii kanarratti maali wanni dhaamsi ati sirraa baratte?
Walgahii addaa kanarratti wanti keessaa baradhee carraa mootummaa Ameerikaa keessatti keessaayyuu gita hojii foreign policy yookiin immoo waa'ee hojii biyya alaa keessatti Ameerikaa bakka bu'uun hojjechuu irratti gita adda addaa hojiilee adda addaa keessatti lammiileen biyya kanaa ijoolleen keenya kaasi guddatan akkasumas immoo lammii Ameerikaa ka ta'an kaasitti illee dhalanne qooda fudhachuu akka itti danda'an carraan baay'een akka jiru kana keessatti uummanni keenya qooda fudhachuu akka danda'u tarsiimoo biyya kanaa addunyaatti ibsuu embaasiilee addunyaarra jiran 191 akka asirraa ibsametti isaan keessatti uummanni keenya akkamitti qooda fudhachuu akka qabu tartiibni isaa maal akka fakkaatu akkamitti nama qaadhimuu akka danda'amu kana hunda adda asirratti ibsuu danda'ame. Kun ammoo carraa guddaadha uummanni keenya beekee akka itti fayyadamuuf jechuudha. Kana irraa barachuu danda'e.
Carraan kun waggaa dheeraadhaaf tureetiin jira. Akkanumatti hojjetaatiin nama mindeessaatiin deemaa jiran biyyoota addunyaa keessatti imbaasiiwwan Ameerikaa keessa dalaguudhaaf. Hawaasni keenya garuu sadarkaa sanitti irraa fayyadamee jiru. Waan argine irraa tokko hojiiwwan digriif hin barbaanne ka sartifikeetii hin barbaanne high school graduate illee warri ta'in kan ittiin join godhuu danda'antu jira. Isa kanaaf hawaasni keenya carraa kana maaf fayyadamuu dadhabes fakkaata?
Akkana fakkaatutti inni guddaan tokko hanqina odeeffannooti. Hanqina odeeffannoo lack of information waan jennu kana uummanni keenya odeeffannoo walii kennuu carraan addunyaan keessa jirru kun jaarraa 21ffaan kun ka odeeffannoo irratti hundaa'e information age ka jennu kana bifa information age kana keessatti waliif odeeffannoo kennuu odeeffannoo saniin itti carraaqqii jiru carraalee jiru itti fayyadamu akkuma ammatu ibsuuf yaalta kanatti carraan jiru nama umrii 20 hanga nama umrii 59 ka jiru hundaayyuu carraan bifa gita adda addaatiin jira. Ka barnootan gaafanne jira, ka barnoota gaafatu jira, ka qormaata barbaadu jira, ka qormaata barbaachifne jira. Akkasumas immoo wanti baay'ee nama gammachiisu tokko ijoollee amma genereeshinii lammaffaa Oromoo ka jennu ka amma kunoo kolleejjii keessa jiran, high school keessa jiran ijoollee kanneenii fi carraa guddatu jira. Fellowship, internshipiin kuniniyyuu ka bifa adda addaa ka kafaltiin internshipii fudhatantu jira. Kana ijoolleen keenya beekaniitiin itti fayyadamuu danda'anii wanti guddaan tokko kan uumidhaatiin jiru lack of information yookiin immoo odeeffannoo walii dabarsuu dhabu. Kanaaf uummanni keenya ammallee jechuu ka barbaadu tokko karaa odeeffannoon ittiin darbu hordofnee fakkeenyaaf amma Oromiyaa 11 Oromoo hundinuu magaalaa kana kan jiru dhagahuu qaba jedheetiin yaada akka kiyyatti. Maaliif odeeffannoon asirraan darba odeeffannoon kun ammoo jireenya ofafooti guddina ofafooti. Akkasumas ammoo carraa ofafoo uummata keenyaati jechuudha. Kanaafi kana yoo gooneetiin jenne odeeffannoo walii yoo dabarsine odeeffannoo dhageenyu ammoo kabiraatii illee dabarsine yoo itti fayyadamuu dandeenye nullee addunyaa kana keessatti qooda fudhachuu dandeenya. Gaafiileen baay'een Oromoon addunyaa kanarra qabullee tartiiba saniini haga tokko deebii argachuu danda'a jedhee waan amanuufi kanaaf uummanni keenya odeeffannoo hordofuu duukaa bu'uu walii qooduu irratti qooda fudhachuu qaba.
Hedduu galatoomii wanni biraa immoo inni kaasanne tokko akkuma amma argaa jirtu sadarkaan uummanni Oromoodhaa itti tarkaanfataa jiruuf itti deemaa jiru waan hedduu nama gammachiisu biyya keessaa biyya alaallee ijaaramiinsiif sadarkaan inni irra gahaa jiru barnootaanis haa ta'u hojiilee waajjiraalee mootummaa gurguddaa keessa seenuudhaanis haa ta'u hojii dippiloomaatii hojjechuudhaanis haa ta'u jijjiiramatu jira ammaan tanatti. Kanaan wal qabateetiin immoo bifuma wal fakkaatuun keessattuu biyyoota alaa irratti carraa argamaniin hawaasni keenya sadarkaa barbaachisuun ol ka'ee hojjetaatiin hin jiru. Carraan biraa kan bahe immoo dipaartimentiin poolisiidhaa iskoolaarshiippii kennee barattoota barsiisee barnoota irraa kafalee hojii qabsiisuu waan jedhutu jira. Isa kana hoo dargaggoota kennaa wanni dhaamtu. Kan biraa immoo waajjiraalee mootummaa kana keessa seenuudhaaf maal godhuu qaba uummanni Oromoodhaa?
Gaafii baay'ee bareeda akkuma ati nuu beektu fakkeenyaaf ani mataan kiyyaa akka komishineer ta'eetiin hojjedha City of Brooklyn Parkitti. Yeroo ammaa kana City of Brooklyn Park ijoollee haaraa ijoollee baay'ee karaa gita adda addaatiin seera hojiirra oolchuu gama poolisiitiin ta'ee gama dhaamsuutiin ta'ee gama qorannootiin ta'ee bifa adda addaatiin kafaltii guddaa kennee fi muuduu barbaada yookiin immoo ofitti makuu barbaada. Kanaaf uummanni keenya kan hunda keessatti qooda fudhachuu qaba. Uummanni sabni tokko saba guutuu ka jedhamu ka waa hunda keessa fudhateetiin qooda fudhateetiin waa hundaayyuu of keessaa qabu. Ka nama tajaajila hundaayyuu jechuudha. Medical, engineering, police, fire. Waa hundaa ka qabu jechuudha. Sabni akka sabaatti guutuu ta'uudhaa fi gita hojii argamu hundattuu qooda fudhachuu qabnaa jechuudha. Yeroo ammaa kana keessaayyuu gama poolisiitiin akkasumas ammoo poolisii yoo jennu meeshaa waraanaa qofa baatanii deemuu miti. Wanti baay'eetu jira achi keessatti ka hojjetamu. Uummata qunnamuun, investigeeshinii adda addaa gaggeessuun, tajaajila ofiisii kennuun wanta baay'eetu jira jechuudha. Uummanni keenya kana keessa qooda fudhachuu qaba. Yoo waan akkasii deemuuf namni barbaadan jiraatanii ammoo iskuulli isaanii guutummatti isaaniif kafalamaa jechuudha. Tola baratanii jechuudha. Tola baachireelii isaanii argatanii akkasumas sadarkaa adda addaatti siquu danda'anii jechuudha. Kanaaf uummanni keenya carraa akkanaa kanatti fayyadamuu qaba. Gaafii ati irra caalaa guddinatti kaaftee tokko ka jiru uummanni keenya uummanni Oromoodha addunyaa irratti gaafii bareedaa kaaste. Gaafiin sunni uummanni Oromoo addunyaa kanarratti olaaltee jechuun uummata sochii irra jiru. Uummata qabsoo keessa jiru. Uummata ammallee bakka gahuuf deemuu bira hin geenne garuu itti deemaatiin jiru jechuudha. Addunyaa kanarratti yoo argiteetiin jettadha Oromoon biyya adda addaa keessa guutummaatti guunneetiin jirra. Biyyi Oromoon keessa hin jirre biyya diqqaadha. Haa ta'u ammallee biyyoota adda addaa keessatti biyya irraa dhalannetti illee dabalatee biyyoota adda addaa keessatti miidhaa adda addaa keessa jira Oromoon. Kana keessa bahuuf ammoo bakkuma jirrutti biyyuma jirrutti qooda fudhachuu jechuun kun ammoo keessaayyuu kan keessaa jaalladhu tokko ofiisiif dorgomuu mana barnootaatiif dorgomuu qooda fudhachuu naannoo keessa jirtu qooda fudhachuu maaliif murtiileen naannoo sanatti dalagamu sillee tuqaa maatii kan kee tuqaa ofafoo kan keellee tuqaa kanaaf atillee waan gumaachitu qabda. Nuti ijoollee abbaa gadaaf akkasuma hiddi keenya gadaa addunyaa kana akka gumaache jedheetiin amanaan. Oromoon gadaa akka gumaache addunyaa kanaaf kaadha addunyaan ittiin boontu ittiin jiraattu kan akka gumaache jalqabarraa ittiin jiraata akka ture Oromoodha. Kanaaf addunyaa kana waan gumaachinu baay'ee qabnaa jechuudha. Kanaaf ammoo ijoolleen Oromoo ka dandeettii qabdan, ka humnas qabdan, ka hawwii waa tokko keessa qooda fudhachuu barbaadan hundinuu addunyaa bakkuma jirtan hundattiyyuu ka ofiisiif dorgomuu barbaadan dorgoma. Ka volunteeriin qooda fudhachuu qooda fudhadha. Akkas yoo goone jijjiirraa fiduu dandeenya jedheetiin dhaamuu barbaada. Baay'ee ofafoon keenya ifaadha jedheetiin yaada.
Galatooma.
Baay'ee galatooma Oromiyaa 11 yoomiyyuu galatooma.
Shooting very close to the event and
I am currently here with
Sergeant Eric Hagel.
And Eric, what is the nature of you guys' attendance at the presentation today?
We're here on basically recruiting. I don't want to say mission, but yeah, we're just out here recruiting. And I think we wanted to be at this one because it seems like there's a lot of community members that can bring our message back. And our chief gave one of the talks here today. Yeah.
Now, we have talked about the college requirement being eliminated at the State Department, but can you talk about some of the requirements to be an officer for people that may be unfamiliar but interested in actually joining the police force?
Yep. There's basically 3 pathways. The first is CSO, which fellows behind me are. And that, you don't need a college education. You have to be 18 at the time of hire. You need a high school degree or equivalent. But that is one of the better programs going, because we will pay for your schooling along with pay you as an employee, a civilian employee, while you're going to school. And it's a pathway right into becoming a police officer in the city of Minneapolis.
And how long have you been with the Minneapolis Police Department?
I'm going to date myself, but March 10th of 1997 is when I started. Yeah.
That's a long time. That's a long time serving the community.
Yeah, it's been great, and we've lost a significant number of people since the events of 2020. But I'm happy as ever with my decision to stay, and for anyone out there, Minneapolis is just a great opportunity for the programs we have to get you in the door, but then just opportunity to grow and develop as an employee once you're here.
Now, lastly, what is one thing that keeps you getting out of bed every morning to do this job?
It's the relationships here within the community and with my coworkers. It really is a great place to work, and I'm just happy I'm still here.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for talking to us at Aromia 11.
You bet. Thank you.
As always, I am Anna Orr, and it has been a pleasure to join you today. Please make sure that you are taking opportunity to check all the links that are being provided to you. If something that was shared today or on the live stream you have found encouraging, educational, or inspiring. I am Anna Orr, and I look forward to connecting again with you soon.